Hello Kerbal Nauts, I'm Orbiter, your Welsh engineer, and welcome to Kerbal Asteroid Day, where we will be looking for asteroids that are going to impact Kerbin, and we're going to redirect them. This time we're not going to be making a base or putting them in orbit around Kerbin. No, this is not the asteroid mission that NASA have been looking for. This is the asteroid mission that B612, I believe, Foundation have been looking for. Basically, what Asteroid Day, which was on the June the 30th, is to celebrate the impact, or the explosion actually, above the trees in Tunguska, Siberia, where an asteroid almost hit the ground, but exploded and caused a load of devastation. Luckily, it was in an unpopulated area. And we do know asteroids can be a very particular danger, because we've seen one which exploded above Russia at some point. And this has been caught on camera in one day, so yeah, there's no denying that this can be a problem. So I'm doing this video in Kerbal Space Program and testing all these things, like this awesome parachute. I wasn't sure if those parachutes were going to deploy through that decoupler there, so I had to test this and make sure it survived even the impact of a grabbing unit. So that working, let's go ahead and rebuild this, or build it in fact. And I'm going to use a simple craft, I suppose, to do this. It's just going to be a basic stock craft. And what I decided to do was use one of the smallest engines. What this does, it gives you a lot of delta V. Look, after we attach the fuel lines for the external tanks, we have 6,867 meters per second. Now, some of that will be used to get into orbit, but it will be more than enough to redirect the asteroid, which is a Class C, by the way, so it's middling range, not large, not small. However, you have to think that, even a smallest asteroid can cause a lot of devastation. So yes, you have to make sure what asteroid's going to hit us. And I think the smallest asteroids are the worst, because the smallest asteroids you don't have much control over. They're harder to see because they're small. So you really do have to pay more attention to what you're looking for. Anyway, I hope you like the different music choices I've got in this video. I decided to spruce it up from the Kerbal Space Program music. Anyway, now for the booster, and I did make some mistakes with this. I knew that launching this would be a bit hard. I decided to go for a low thrust weight ratio but high delta V craft. As you can see at the moment, we have high enough thrust to weight ratio. I've decided to reduce the thrust of those external tanks, but that was a mistake. No, why did you do that? That means the external tank's going to burn longer than the internal tank. And you can see by here, as you see in the bottom left corner on the staging, the center rocket ran out before the solid rocket boosters did, and my thrust to weight ratio went down to 0.4. So yes, mission fail. Quick, abort, abort, abort. There was no way I could have recovered that. So we went back to the VAB, done some re-engineering, added more fuel to the tank, increased the thrust of the outer boosters. Yes, we're going to ridiculously high thrust to weight ratio once there's boosters at full potential. But anyway, let's get on with the asteroid mission. Now we're ready to launch. First off, align the KLC with the orbit of the asteroid. This is very essential because doing any inclination change around Kerbin, or anywhere, in fact, would be very costly in the amount of delta V. And oh yeah, can you imagine doing that? As I just did there, I'd done the internal strutting of the rocket. You're launching the rocket, but you've got an engineer inside your spacecraft strutting everything up, making sure it's not going to wobble or disintegrate. So we're launching. By the way, this launch was 2 videos put into one, because one of them I messed up the gravity turn, so I had to go back and do that. But rather than make it a long video and showing you all my mistakes, I decided to edit the 2 videos into one, because I didn't record the launch of this one. Anyway, now that we've come to this stage, this is the problem with this one. You have to do your gravity turn just right, because at this point, when you go to do your circularization, if you look at the top left, where it says node burn time, half, that's half the burn time of the node. I can see it's quite high. It's over a minute, 2 minutes almost. And that's half the burn, so this is a 4-minute burn in total. And that's because we got a low thrust to weight ratio on this rocket here. And yes, you can see one of the capillaries have caught hold of this craft, but we eventually get it into orbit. Through the magic of editing. And not hyper edit, by the way. No, I tried to stay clear of that. I only used that for testing. Okay, now a little trick I use. I also use MechJeb. This is not a cheating mod here. This is just to add extra days to the maneuver node. So you see about 120 now, because I made sure that's how long that we're going to take for the asteroid to come into the sphere influence of Kerbin. So we have to make sure we meet that asteroid at the same time. Here I'm adding an extra day, reorientating the maneuver nodes. Yes, this does take a bit of time, but that you have to expect from Kerbal Space Program. It's not a quick game. If you want to do something like this, you have to take your time. Like, think of the missions that they sent to, not Juno, that's the spacecraft. They sent to Jupiter, or even the Horizon spacecraft. How long was that? 9 years? No, I think that wasn't. Yeah, 9 years. That is a long mission. And technology advances so fast these days that you can basically build a smartphone. If you put RCS thrusters on it, I'm sure you could turn that into a satellite. Although, don't try that. I don't think NASA will be happy for you adding more space junk up into space. Anyway, now that we're burning, I realized that the maneuver node was in the wrong place because we've missed it. Oh well, as with everything in Kerbal Space Program, sometimes it's best to do, as they call in Elite Dangerous, a loop of shame. In other words, you turn around, thrust again, reducing your orbit for your intercept. And here we are. Sometimes I kill the maneuver node, by the way, before I finish it, just so I could look at the actual intersect markers, because they don't show up until you've actually killed the maneuver node, because the maneuver node shows the intersect markers that you would have if you burned the exact node, and you don't always burn the exact node. Now we are approaching the asteroid. We're at the closest approach, which is just over 100 kilometers away. So at this point, we're going to kill our target velocity, or the relative target velocity. So you see I'm pointing retrograde at the target speed. And this is handy. At this distance, you would have thought that we do a maneuver node correction to head for the asteroid, but you don't have to do that in Kerbal Space Program. We've got more than enough delta V to handle this. So what I did, I killed our speed, pointed directly at the asteroid, because we're not heading at curves, because if you were in orbit around Kerbin, you'd be heading at how do I explain it? A circular orbit. That means, think that would mean you are shifting position as well, because you're not just going around the planet. If you were trying to catch up with something, killed your velocity, but you're traveling slightly different distance, you are sort of going to orbit that. You're going to drift away from it at some point. But however, because we're not in a total circle orbit, we're heading directly at the planet, almost in a straight line, then you can point directly at the objects for your intersect, which is quite handy. It makes things a lot easier than trying to plan your maneuver nodes. Okay, we did another loop of shame here. We passed up the asteroid again, but I always seem to do this, so I'm just going to leave it like that. As long as you have enough delta V, I think you'll be fine. Okay, now we're activating the grabber. Coming in slowly. Everything hinges on us capturing this asteroid. Okay, let's make sure. Are we going to hit it? Yes, we're coming in nice and oh no, we missed. Well, we didn't miss, but the grabbing unit did not engage. Yeah, and I used time warp to stop the spinning of that. I should have tried to capture it while it was spinning, but I've done that before, so I felt like I didn't have to prove myself again. No. This time, the whole fate of Kerbin kind rests upon these 3 Kerbal souls, and they cannot mess up, not the second time. The grabbing unit has been damaged enough as it is, so direct approach, and we have done it. Now, once we get to that, we have to target the center of mass. I didn't realize this at first off, but we pointed directly at the center of mass. That was awesome. You know, I didn't even plan that, because you can target the center of mass. But anyway, now we have to shift the orbit, and I decided the height that we had to do for passing Kerbin safely was over 500 kilometers, because I think it was just over 500,000 kilometers, sorry. The orbit height of 2,300 and something, I can't remember off the top of my head, by the way, so don't quote me on these numbers, is geostationary orbit, where the satellites would be maintaining a perfect spot above the ground on Kerbin, so it can transmit to the same direction, like they do with the satellite dishes when you're watching Sky or any other satellite program on TV. But this mission is a success. In celebration, detach those tanks full of fuel so they can impact something else out in the future. But now it is time for our Kerbals to return home. And return home they do. Everything's planned. We have our landing site. We have the parachutes. We have the technology to return these Kerbals safely. And return them we shall. Maneuver node successfully obtained. Okay, we're gonna miss the landing spot. Come on, guys. A bit of RCS. That takes really fine control. So I think what I'll do, because there's a bit of pressure from those decoupling nodes, we'll decouple when we're in the atmosphere. And we do. And I didn't realize that the grabbing unit was the main part. So we had to quickly switch over to the command pod to orientate the heat shields. As everything else explodes, the Kerbals are safe from a thin layer underneath the capsule. And yeah, that was totally planned. The rescue mission on this icy island out in the South Pole. Tell me, how did I mess that up? It just shows that you can't trust Kerbal trajectories all the time. However, the Kerbals have survived. They are coming down safely. The parachutes are deployed. And will be fully deployed right about now. Awesome. Anyway, speeding up the video so that you don't have to watch the descent so slowly. And just slowing down time for the impact of the water. Jebediah, the brave pilot Kerbal, who did not mess this mission up. We thank him. To Bill Kerbin, the engineer who strutted the rocket while it was launching. That is some epic engineering, my fellow engineer. And Valentino Kerbin, the pilot who captured the asteroid. Because Jeb were terrible at capturing things. These Kerbals have saved our planet, though they had to wait a day. Anyway, if you like this video, crank that like button like an engineer. Now Kerbin is safe, we have to make sure that that asteroid doesn't return. So returning back to the tracking station, tracking this asteroid, we observe its orbit after it's left Kerbin. It is not going to intersect Kerbin ever again. That is cool. Mission success, guys. Anyway, I'm Orbator. Trust me, I'm an engineer who just redirected an asteroid.